are a variety of reasons why I think people have taken these actions. It's hard. One, I think you have to look at each individual case. I mean, we're in the process now of talking to Mr. Shahzad to try to understand what it is that drove him to take the action he took.
But radical Islam could have been one of the reasons?
There are a variety of reasons why people...
But was radical Islam one of them?
There are a variety of reasons why people do these things.
Yeah, Eric Holder, an oldie but a goodie, won't say radical Islam. Joining us now, Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor and, of course, New York Times best-selling author. His latest is Faithless Execution, Building the Political Case for Obama's Impeachment. And he's also columnist and senior fellow at National Review. Hello, Andy.
Steve, how are you?
I'm good. Great to talk to you again. I want to start with the beheading. And I played a clip, or I'm going to play a clip later on, of Melissa Harris Perry, and she had a panel on MSNBC, outraged that this is being talked about in terms of Islam or anything regarded to terrorism, how this is just workplace violence, and she had a whole panel backing her up. You know, I got to tell you, ISIS called for the beheading of citizens in any country that is taking place in the bombings of ISIS locations in Iraq and Syria, and this guy, one could say, delivered.
Yeah, Steve, I would say two things about this. First, on the Islamic aspect of it, which is something that has been talked about pretty incessantly since ISIS started very notoriously beheading these journalists. As I've been pointing out all along, ISIS isn't doing anything, not only that Al-Qaeda hasn't done for years and years, but also that Islamic governments haven't done. You know, I point out that the three journalists that ISIS beheaded in the last couple of weeks, that's 5 fewer than were beheaded by the government of Saudi Arabia in the month of August. Now, in Saudi Arabia, the only law is Sharia. To the extent that they have law enforcement and penalties for the commission of crimes, the crimes are all defined by Sharia, the punishments are all defined by Sharia. And, you know, maybe Sheikh Obama and the sheikhs at MSNBC and Sheikh Kerry and Sheikh Cameron and the rest of them think they know Islam better than the Saudis do, but I kind of doubt it, I have to say. Secondly...
That's an excellent point, yeah.
Yeah, whenever we get these events, and we obviously remember the one in Fort Hood, now we have the one in Oklahoma. The government seems to take the position, and it's one as someone who prosecuted terrorism cases that I really can't understand, that essentially, unless you're wearing an Al-Qaeda t-shirt or otherwise, you know, have the key to the executive bathroom in the back of the cave or whatever, you know, is an indicia of actual membership in Al-Qaeda, they say it's not terrorism, even if it is motivated by Islamic supremacist ideology, and even if it is very knowingly and prominently and notoriously affixing itself and attaching itself to the global jihadist movement that is anti-Western and anti-American. It just seems to be silly to take the position that because we don't know at this moment, that we don't have evidence at this moment that ties you as a formal member of a designated terrorist organization, it somehow can't be terrorism, when it's clear that the intention is both to terrorize and to affiliate itself in a very pronounced way with the global jihadist movement. I think the government's position on these things is preposterous. I thought it in Fort Hood, and I think we're getting the same thing again in Oklahoma.
Absolutely. You wrote a great piece in National Review, Andy, about the Khorosan group that when we bombed, we were told we had to bomb. Not only did we bomb ISIS, but we had to bomb this Khorosan group because there was an imminent threat to the United States, bombs on planes, etc., undetectable plastics or... it's on the screen now that you wrote. You haven't heard of the Khorosan group because there isn't one. It's a name the administration came up with. Congressman Peter King had told me that you know, this was like top secret. No one was allowed to mention it. Tell me why you say they don't exist.
Because they don't exist as a terrorist organization. You know, look, Tom Jocelyn, who is as good a terrorism analyst as there is in the United States, says that there was a Khorosan Shura Council in Al-Qaeda. Now, a Shura Council is not a terrorist organization. What the administration represented was that this Khorosan group was an operational terrorist organization. As it turns out, there was an internal advisory council around the leadership of Al-Qaeda, kind of like a board of advisors. But when Zawahiri sent some of these guys, including the leaders, to Syria, they didn't go as the Khorosan group. They integrated in the local Al-Qaeda franchise there, which is al-Nusra. And all the reporting about the guys who were there were dealt with the fact that they were operating through al-Nusra. The jihadists in the field, even Al-Qaeda guys, didn't know and had never heard of the Khorosan group. And that's because to the extent it existed at all, as I argued in my piece, it was not a terrorist organization. And it was highlighted and underscored by the Obama administration because they don't want to say Al-Qaeda. The president had
Al-Qaeda, yeah.
Right, 36 times during the campaign.
Yeah, no, Andy, you make a great point, and we're out of time. Unfortunately, I urge everyone to go National Review online and read The Khorosan Group Does Not Exist by the great Andy McCarthy. Thank you, Andy, and we'll be back with more with our Malzberg panel. Back in 1962, President Lincoln changed the course of the Civil War and history. Watch.
Abraham Lincoln began the war between the states with a single stated purpose: to preserve the Union. So it surprised everyone when in July of 1862, President Lincoln announced his intentions to issue an Emancipation Proclamation to free the Southern slaves. Lincoln was urged to delay his proclamation until the Union Army could boast a battlefield victory. That opportunity came at the Battle of Antietam, when Union forces drove Lee's army out of Maryland. 5 days later, on September 22, 1862, President Lincoln issued the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, stating slaves in those areas still in rebellion within 100 days will be freed. This action made slavery the focus of the war and ultimately caused France and England to withdraw their support of the South. The following January, Lincoln issued the actual Emancipation Proclamation, stating that all persons held as slaves within the rebel states are, and henceforth shall be, free. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
The Secret Service director says she takes responsibility for recent security breaches at the White House. I'm Olga Villaverde, and this story tops your Newsmax Now update. Director Julie Pearson says she's ordered a full investigation. Today's hearing comes after many sources said Omar Gonzalez sprinted further into the White House than was reported by the Secret Service. In Arkansas, the man suspected of kidnapping realtor Beverly Carter says he had an accomplice. Carter's body was found early this morning. The FCC overturns a regulation that prevents football games from airing on TV when the teams don't sell enough tickets. The NFL says the rule boosts attendance, but the FCC disagrees. Swimming champion Michael Phelps was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence. Maryland police stopped him for reckless driving, but charged him with DUI after he failed sobriety test. And that's your Newsmax Now update. And now we head back to New York.